Welcome back to the channel. I hope you enjoy. Going off into the jungle was obviously not an option either, not knowing what sweet hell awaited us within. We looked around for any spots secure enough, places that could shield us from any potential danger. Soon enough, we came to the foot of a cliff. At first glance, a dead end, but I could just make out a stretch of rocks, one that led to a small opening or cave in the side of the cliff. Evelyn or I could easily fall or sustain serious injuries, and neither of us seemed too wild about it. No, that's just insane and reckless. Much to Evelyn's dismay, it wasn't like we had many options. See anywhere else to go? The logic was convincing enough for her, to some extent for me as well. Quickly, but cautiously, we proceeded to move across the rocky ledge, once more calculating every step we took. After all that's happened today, neither of us could afford any injuries. We continued down until just below the cave entrance. Now, we had to climb. The two of us latched onto every reachable and graspable surface we could find, making an effort to reach the cave. Both of us held on for dear life. After about a few minutes of climbing, we were hardly a few feet away. Down below, I could see the dark, looming shape of another one of those sea beasts, motivating me to climb even faster. As I did, though, one of the rocks I grabbed came loose. I was hanging on for dear life, feeling my grip weakening. With my remaining strength, I threw my arm and regained my footing. Finally, I had made it, Evelyn coming up behind me. Quickly, I proceeded to help pull her up onto the ledge, her and I barely possessing any more strength. Safe at last was how I wish things turned out. Without warning, the all-too-familiar sound broke the silence around us, and before Evelyn could react, another winged creature, like the one before, grabbed her in its bill. I screamed no in fear. Helplessly, I watched as it carried Evelyn, screaming in terror as the animal was attempting to hold her. She soon proved too much for it to carry, and was dropped into the water below. She splashed around, struggling to swim, as the sea beast I spotted proceeded to snatch her up, and descended into the deep. I fell to my knees. Both my colleagues were now dead, and I did nothing about it. I did nothing to save Evelyn, and I had no idea as to Sergio's fate. Now, they're gone. Soon the sun had set, and the cover of night had fallen. I sat all alone, trapped in this cave on the side of a cliff, shivering and terrified. What started out as an ordinary expedition turned into whatever the hell had just occurred now. That temple somehow led the ancient Mayans, and now me and my deceased colleagues through some sort of rift into the ancient past. How is beyond my comprehension. There's no other way to grasp it rationally. Things didn't exactly end there. With nowhere left to go and nothing to do, all I could do was wither away in this tiny hole. But something began to turn my attentions up to the night sky. As I looked, faint silhouettes were streaming across the horizon. It didn't take a genius to realize that those are small comets. And in the center of it all, as that bright star from before, or so I thought. By the second, it continued to get brighter and brighter. Its light shined so bright that it casted vivid shadows on the ground below. There was no mistake here. That star was a several billion-ton asteroid about to devastate everything in its wake. It was just seconds away from crashing down, and in that little time that I had left, I reflected on how things ended up this way, and wondered how it all went so horribly wrong. Losing somebody I knew personally, and watching another die right in front of me, and now I'm about to get quite literally obliterated. The next thing I saw was a blinding light, accompanied by an ear-shattering boom of unfashionable proportions. I was practically deaf in that moment. Following it was a massive, hellish wave of fire and debris, moving at an unimaginable speed toward me. This was it, and without thinking I closed my eyes, not wanting to see it coming. But then suddenly, everything went quiet. I could suddenly feel a different kind of ground beneath me, and the familiar sounds of the jungle re-entered my ears. I opened my eyes, and I was back at the overlook of the Unknown Temple. What just happened? How the hell am I back here? I was literally seconds from being vaporized, and now I'm suddenly back where I started. As I continued to try and comprehend the situation, the sound of vehicular whirring slowly began to pick up in volume. It was a ranger's helicopter. The chopper slowly descended to where I was, and 2 paramedics exited. I was incredibly weak, and I lacked the proper strength to do most anything, so the medics assisted me to the craft. I asked them why they were here, and what they explained didn't make any sense. Apparently, Sergio, Evelyn, and I had been missing for roughly a month, and a search was conducted for us. Of course, none of this made any sense, as it had only been a day we were at that temple. Could whatever happened have affected my perception of time? When I had to give my account for what had transpired, I made up an excuse. I had fallen into one of the sea notes and had gotten lost and separated from my team. While this didn't explain how I survived for around a month, it checked out well enough. No way I'd try to tell them what had actually happened. Being admitted is the last thing I want or need. It's been over 6 months since those events transpired. If everything that happened actually happened, then how? How was all of it possible? Were my team and I actually sent back in time? Did the Mayans encounter literal dinosaurs? Regardless, I've come to the conclusion that we, should have let that bit be, which has a reason not to be understood. As the deeper we dig, the more we find things that weren't meant to have been. I myself wish I had realized that sooner. The end. Thanks for taking the time to listen to one of my videos. I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.